The AUGs are a relatively popular family of weapons in Phantom Forces, but lately I've been seeing a lot more AUGs than usual. Now, you all saw the title, so I'll just come out and say it. I really don't like the AUG family in Phantom Forces. I haven't really done a formal video where I actually talk about specific guns yet, so in this one I actually wanted to discuss why I don't really like the AUGs. But first, we should actually do an in-depth overview of each of the 5 AUGs and what makes them unique. There's one huge thing that all AUGs have in common. They all have very low recoil. Look at these clips of me absolutely decimating people from 250 studs away with an AUG A1. It's pretty crazy. The main downside to the AUGs is that all of them have below average fire rate for the respective weapon class, but all of them more than make up for it in sheer accuracy at long range. The AUGs also have one ammo conversion each that gives pretty significant stat changes, which I'll also talk about. Alright, let's dive into the AUGs and we'll see exactly why everyone likes them, except for me. Starting off with the AUG A1, this is the first AUG that you'll unlock, and its stats are rather consistent with some of the more meta assault rifles. The AUG A1 is weak in close quarters, but only if you're a high rank. For some reason, all the low ranks can very easily kill me with this thing at point blank range. I have no idea why, but they just do. I've learned to not question it. But anyways, like all of the AUG variants, it has no recoil, a mediocre fire rate, and average handling. But what makes it insanely strong for high ranks is that it has an absurd 4-shot range of 165 studs. That's longer than the LED-5, the G36, and even the M60. On a map like Metro, the base AUG A1 is quite weak since it lacks the ability to 3 shots to the torso at close range, but on Desert Storm or Dunes, it's one of the most terrifying guns in the game. Since this gun fires faster than the Scar L and has no recoil because it's an AUG, it pretty much outclasses the Scar L on most maps that aren't super long range oriented. This thing does, however, suffer from a very long reload, which every AUG except the A3 PARA also has, but you shouldn't have to fire that many shots with how far this thing can 4-shot out too, combined with its extremely low recoil. My recommended setup for the AUG A1 is Coyote Sight, Compensator, Stubby Grip, and Tri-Laser. This is my personal favorite AUG variant because of how good its ranges are, but it's definitely not the best, as we'll see later. The AUG A1 Para is the AUG A1's 9mm conversion, and right off the bat it has a lot to offer. Compared to the AUG A3 Para and the Scar L's 9mm conversion, this gun has the slowest fire rate, but the best recoil and the longest 5-shot range. The biggest disadvantage it has is that it only holds 25 rounds while the others hold 32, but despite this I'd still say the AUG A1 Para is worth checking out. The base AUG A1 is already a very high tier assault rifle thanks to its ridiculous damage ranges, and I'm happy to say that its conversion is pretty good as well. My setup for this is the same as the base gun, but with the 9mm conversion. The AUG A2 has higher initial kick than the other AUGs, but in turn has the second longest 3-shot range while still retaining similar recoil to the AUG A1 and the AUG A3. Though this gun suffers from a very short 4-shot range and lower minimum damage than other AUGs, it does somewhat make up for that with solid close range performance, though if someone pulls out an actually CQC oriented rifle like the T36C or the Asvel, this thing can get overwhelmed pretty fast, so whenever possible, you should still try to keep your distance when using it. I recommend using Coyote Sight, T-Brake, Stubby Grip, and Tri-Laser. The AUG A2's 7.62 conversion has actually been talked about a fair bit by some larger YouTubers and pro players, but despite the attention it gets, it's actually a fairly uncommon conversion. This is mainly due to its higher kill requirement. The conversion itself is actually really strong and feels a lot like a battle rifle. It's only got 20 rounds, so it's not as broken as the RPK-12's 7.62 conversion was before that got fixed. But if you're able to deal with the 20 rounds, then this conversion is awesome. It can 4-shot kill to the torso at all ranges, 2-shot kill to the head up close, and its damage ranges are greatly improved across the board, all without sacrificing any fire rate. And while the recoil is a bit higher, it's still quite accurate for how strong it is. With this conversion, I recommend using Delta Sight, T-Brake, Stubby Grip, Tri-Laser, and the 7.62 conversion. The AUG A3 is very similar to the AUG A2, but in my opinion, it's just not as good right now. It can 3-shot kill to the body at close range, which is always nice, and like other AUGs, it has great recoil with some of the lowest kick in the assault rifle category. That's about it though. Its other stats are pretty mid for an assault rifle. It has slightly below average fire rate, slightly below average 4-shot range, and a slightly below average reload speed. It's alright, but it's nothing special. Its extremely low kick makes it a great anti-head glitching gun, but it's really held back by not having any key strengths. The AUG A1 has a massive 4-shot range. The AUG A2 has a great 3-shot range and a powerful conversion, but the AUG A3 doesn't really have anything that makes it particularly strong. My recommended setup for the AUG A3 is Coyote Sight, T-Brake, Angle Grip, and Tri-Laser. The 300 blackout conversion for this gun is also fairly underwhelming. Despite being able to 4-shot torso at all ranges, it removes the AUG A3's 3-shot while increasing its recoil. In my opinion, this conversion really didn't need to increase the AUG A3's recoil since it already loses its ability to 3-shot and doesn't really help the gun in any other way. Just use the AUG A1 instead, or put a muzzle booster on the Scar L if you just want a better version of this. The AUG H-Bar used to be one of the best guns in the entire game. In its prime, this thing did 35 to 23 damage with a 1.1x torso multiplier, and had the tightest recoil pattern of any base automatic weapon in the game, a title now held by the AN-94. However, this gun has been severely nerfed since then, losing its torso multiplier, a ton of its close range damage, and becoming less accurate. While its spread is still very good, it's now the least accurate and overall worst AUG variant in the game. It does pair nicely with 223 however, which lowers its recoil even more, and at least it didn't end up like the L86, which is one of the worst LMGs right now. My recommended setup for the H-bar is Coyote Sight, T-Brake, Stubby Grip, Blue Laser, and 223 if you want it to be as accurate as possible. The H-bar's 22 long rifle conversion is interesting, but it still sucks because for some reason they made it only carry 20 rounds, which makes no sense for an LMG chambered in 22 long rifle. The least they could have done is give it a pro mag like the Uzi's 22 conversion. Like all 22 long rifle weapons, this gun does absolutely no damage to the limbs and a lot of damage to the head, while being absurdly accurate, but the conversion's low mag size pretty much removes any serious use case it might have. My recommended setup for this is to unequip the conversion and use the 22 long rifle Uzi instead, or just bring a zip as your secondary and click fast. Last but certainly not least, we have the AUG A3 PARA XS. A satanic PDW so broken that it is only ever used by those who want to inflict pain and suffering onto others. While it shoots a tad bit slower than weapons like the MP5 and the Colt SMG, don't let that distract you from how broken this stupid thing is. 780 RPM is still way too fast considering that this gun can 3-shot to the body out to 62 studs with 32 rounds, an insanely quick reload especially for an AUG, and because it's an AUG, of course it has to be way too accurate for its own good. This gun is the definition of overpowered. And I'm not like, oh, this gun's just really nice. No, I mean it's an actual problematic weapon. Kids like to call everything overpowered nowadays, and they're the same kinds of people who like to use the AUG A3 PARA, but just this one time, they're actually right and this gun really is overpowered. It outclasses most of the PDWs you get before it. While its minimum damage range is terrible, not a single soul is going to care about a 6-shot kill when the gun already has no recoil. And did I mention that it has good handling as well? Well, you can argue that the MP5 is a bit more accurate and shoots faster. That gun has really awful handling for a PDW, and pretty much relies on angle grip to not make it aim terribly slow. The AUG A3 PARA, on the other hand, can very easily get away with stubby grip and ARS suppressor if you somehow want to make it even more accurate, but in my opinion, you should be using Coyote Sight, Muzzle Booster, Stubby Grip, and Blue Laser, or be a functioning member of society and avoid this gun like it's the plague. The AUG A3 PARA's 40 Smith & Wesson conversion is relatively straightforward. It can no longer 3-shot up close, but it can 5-shot at long range. Despite also reducing your fire rate and mag size, this is still a great conversion since the AUG A3 PARA can make use of the 5-shot thanks to its non-existent recoil. I recommend using the same setup here as I previously mentioned, but just with the 40 Smith & Wesson conversion. Or like I said, just avoid this gun because it's disgustingly overpowered and if you use it you're a psychopath. Alright, so that's all the AUGs. It's probably the only weapon class where you could use a different model for each gun, and you'd still notice how similar they are, and that's one thing I really like about the AUGs. If you're using an AUG A1 PARA for instance, and then you switch to the AUG A3 PARA, you don't have to waste time learning a new gun. If you were expecting something similar to the A1 PARA, you'd be right. Another thing I really like about the AUGs is that their aim speed stats make actual sense. The H-bar has a normal aim speed for an LMG. The A1, A2, and A3 all have 15 aim speed, which is average for an assault rifle. The AUG A3 PARA has 14.5 walk speed and 16 aim speed, and like the other AUGs, that makes sense for a PDW, though it is a shame that one of the few PDWs with appropriate handling just had to be the one that already outclassed 75% of its category. Stylus really seems to like making random guns aim slower for no good reason like the G36 and the MP5, but at least it didn't happen to the AUGs. So why don't I like the AUGs? There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with these guns at first, and a lot of you people probably clicked this video because you're angry at me for not liking them. Well, the biggest issue I have is the reload times. Every single AUG except the A3 PARA has a slow reload. What makes this problem especially annoying for the AUGs is that the reload is extremely desynced. There's a huge delay between your mag being put into the gun and the reload being finished. For instance, the reload time on the AUG A1 is 2.8 seconds, but if the animation was synced correctly, it will be closer to 2.2. This is incredibly frustrating when your reload looks like it finished, but you actually shot your gun too early, ended up reload cancelling, and you die as a result of that. If this issue were fixed, then I'd actually enjoy using the AUGs a lot more. Maybe not make the AUG A1 reload as fast as the Scar L, or make the AUG A3 reload faster than the M16A3, but make the partial reload actually give me my bullets when I insert my magazine. My second issue with the AUGs is that they're all so easy to use. They have very low initial kick and their accuracy is well above average for their weapon class. Every AUG feels so brain dead that I just don't like using them over guns with actual recoil. I mean, the G36C is still dumb accurate, but at least it kicks up a lot. The AUGs are just point and shoot, nothing beyond that. My third issue is with the AUG A3 PARA specifically because, dear god, this thing is just broken. It has no weaknesses, it has almost zero recoil, and muzzle booster barely increases it at all. It can 3-shot up to an absurd distance, it has great handling, good mag capacity, and it's the only AUG in the game with an actual fast reload. It's easily the most disgustingly evil PDW in the game right now, and if you use it, you kick puppies. It's so dumb that all the AUGs are just sort of chilling in their own category, not really causing that much of a problem. And then there's the AUG A3 PARA, a gun so broken that it makes half the existing PDWs useless. Stylus really needs to nerf the hell out of this thing because it feels like everyone who uses it is cheating with how stupid its stats are. Do I think the other AUGs suck? Obviously not, but it feels like I'm choosing between a rifle with an agonizing reload and a slow fire rate, and a completely broken PDW only used by psychopaths who enjoy causing pain for others. If Stylus nerfed the AUG A3 PARA into the ground and fixed the reload desync on the other AUGs, then I'd have a lot more fun using these guns, but for now, I personally don't like them. But if you do, leave a comment saying why you like the AUGs. I really don't care one way or the other, it's just a gun in a Roblox game, but the comments help boost my videos in the YouTube algorithm, so anything helps. And while you're down there, like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're new. We're coming up on 500 subscribers, so I greatly appreciate any support on this video. Thanks for watching.